Sup, my name is Deem, and today we'll be discussing Bodica, the fierce Celtic queen of the Kenny tribe, whom was responsible for the massacre of 70,000 people. Well, we just like drama OC, of course. So, 70,000 people. Why did Bodica do such an evil thing? Well, in 43 AD, Emperor Claudius found a liking to the population of Britain. Like, not in that way, but and decided to rope it into the Great Roman Empire. A few decades prior, there were a great British tribe leader named Cornelius that perished a few decades later. With his perishment came his sons, brothers, Carcatus and Togodamus, my bad, bro, who split the kingdom between themselves and didn't like the idea of being conquered by some guy with an excessive amount of land already. But Claudius wanted to achieve political fame and prestige, so he sent his general Aulus Platinus and 40,000 men to go take over Britain and quell the nasty mutterings of the brothers. Unfortunately, they succeeded and their army spread throughout the country. As with any good takeover, you gotta bribe the people somehow. The Romans, after conquering so many places, were very good at distracting people. They built new infrastructure, implemented a better judicial and government system, and introduced their own culture and art. Building aqueducts and bathhouses, they truly Romanized Britain. I think this actually makes sense when we see how many countries Britain conquered in the future. Like, they had mentors, yeah? Anyways, this did come at a cost of several native tribes being oppressed, the British losing their culture, traditions, and land. I'm pretty sure they should have felt some empathy for the rest of the world later in the future, no? But, yeah. Also, the wealth distribution was pretty bad, like all the tribes' elites. I'm learning today that the British had tribes. I don't know why it's such a shock to me, but I thought like they had little cottages and like it was little villages. I don't know what I expect a little fantasy. Like that sounds so stupid, yes, but I'm learning something new too. Anyways, the terrible wealth distribution meant the tribe's elites lived like kings while the remaining indigenous populace lived like crap. Combined with the high taxes to the generous Roman Empire, slavery, and further vocal oppression, the population, as you can imagine, was quite pressed. Now I think you see why Bodica did something so extreme, I think. However, this wasn't the push that Madame needed to rally her forces. Not much is known about Queen Boudica's youth. In truth, historians speculate that even her name is honorary, and nobody then would know what she went with in life. At the ripe age of 18, Boudica married Prasuktas, king of the Kenny tribe of modern-day East Anglia. He was a pretty good guy, I think. Could be wrong though, I don't know. He was more important after he was gone low-key for that part of history, I believe. No offense to any of his fans, of course. After his journey up to heaven, his will decreed that his kingdom be split under his two daughters and Nero, when he failed to leave a male heir, of course. Could you imagine being Bodica? My daughters are gonna be queens, bro. Nero, Emperor Nero, of course, if y'all know anything about his history and his political and anti-Christian persecutions of people, you know how difficult of an emperor he was to guide. Even the great philosopher Seneca retired from counseling Emperor Nero later in life. This man was responsible for the death of his mother was responsible for the death of Emperor Claudius, who was his father, his stepfather, and her name was Agrippina. Nero tried to kill his mother about 3 times, I think. His story is really interesting. I'll go over it in another video. So, in disagreement to King Pragatus, they denied the daughters their ruling rights, flogged Boudica, and raped their daughters. Moreover, they annexed Boudica's land, recalled loans that were given to the Britons by Seneca, confiscated money formerly loaned to the Britons by Emperor Claudius, and Boudica's own entreaties. The latter was recorded by Cassius Dio. He believed the money and petitions were the main reason for Boudica's anger. However, Cornelius Tacitus had recorded Boudica's personal humiliation, and I'm willing to bet that was the reason for her tipping point as well. Like most Celtic women, she was a warrior trained in weaponry and leadership, and like most women, she did not excuse the unconsensual deflowering of her daughters. Rallying all the people she could, she left for the city of Camalodunum, modern Colchester, the then capital of Roman Britain, to light it up. Roman provincial mayor Gaius Suetonius Paulinus was away in Wales, so there was no one really in the city defending it except the 200 auxiliary present in London, or Londinium as it was known back then. When I tell you it was crazy, the Madame had no mercy. Her rebels defeated any opposing forces and slaughtered the retired Roman soldiers that were residents of the city. Even people who holed up in the temple of Claudius were evicted of their souls days later. Another general, Quintus Petilius Cerealis, tried to be the hero and reclaim the city. Crushed, decimated, eviscerated of hope. That was how his forces ended up. As described, all his forces were annihilated, and he barely escaped with a few cavalry men. And you think she'd be satisfied after that, but Bodica, I think, wanted to take one city each for herself and her two daughters. Suetonius heard this unbelievableness from his messenger bird and rushed to Londinium, leaving a small garrison on the Isle of Mona, where he was before. Dude was crazy. He took one look, realized he was outnumbered, and dipped, leaving the city to the mercy of the queen. Again, Bodica's rebels razed the city, leaving Londinium and Ashmark on the surface of Roman Britain after slaughtering everyone left in the city. Bodica wasn't done. She said second daughter and sacked Verulamium, modern St. Albus, murdering thousands more. Even if inevitably, most will call her a baddie for her actions, which were justifiable when comparing all the damage the Romans had inflicted on her family. She was quite cruel in her conquests. She wasn't much interested with taking Roman prisoners. Instead, Tacitus described her rebels as savages that impaled noblewomen, cut off their breasts, and sewed them to their mouths. Yeah, the estimated death toll was 70,000 to 80,000 Romans and Britons. Remember the Roman mayor Suetonius? Well, he gathered the last of his balls and his dignity at some point, rallying his younger army somewhere in the West Midlands to go up against Bodica. Somehow, after being severely outnumbered, he actually managed to defeat Bodica's rebel forces, bringing her rebellion to an end. Some argue she died of illness, others of suicide along with her two daughters. Despite her failed uprising, Bodica's name was now cemented in history as a warrior who fought for independence against oppression and also razed the three cities to the ground. It had profound implications for how the Romans would treat the British going forward. They learned people didn't like being under an oppressor for too long before something or someone exploded, and began cooperating with the British and governing the city together. Still, what a badass she was, bro. See, if it was my daughters. Anyways, this was my piece that I made for a video collab with, I think, Ray. We never got around to filming it and posting it, but I hope to film it with her and post it with her. I'll link her account if I can find it. And this was really fun to research. If you like videos like this, please like and subscribe, and please give me ideas on what stories or what history or even science, because I'm moving to science next, that you'd like to hear next. Thank you for listening, and ciao!